Hey, it's Rebecca, and welcome to Returning, a podcast to return to yourself and the wisdom within. I'm so glad you're here with me. Thanks for returning. Today, I'm handing the space over to you to hear your questions, your longings, your struggles, and your breakthroughs. And we're going to hash it out together. And today, we are exploring a question about one of the greatest mysteries of all. What is the soul? What is that presence that exists before we take our first breath and carries on after we exhale our last? What is the essence that can be sensed when we meet a kindred person for the first time? It's as if we have always known each other. What is the part of us that makes us different from others that we grew up with, maybe our family? And where does that part of us go when we die? I know how precious your time is, so let's jump right into opening sacred space together. In the center of your heart, imagine a beautiful flower. With your next breath, invite it to open petal by petal, revealing a light in the middle. This light is your ancient self, your soul, a part of you that's always calling you, really inviting it to step forward now. And taking a moment to acknowledge together the keepers and custodians of the land where I am, where you are, known and unknown. Beautiful. Let's begin by listening to today's question from Charlotte.
Hi, Rebecca. I've been thinking a lot about the soul and wondering if you could help me understand more. I wasn't raised really learning anything about it, and whilst I feel drawn to explore it further, I keep getting stuck and feeling like I don't really know what it is or if I understand it enough. But I have felt the urge to keep following my curiosity and plucked up the courage to ask the question. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks so much for this question. I'm so sure it resonates with many of us, and even for those of us who've been on the path for quite a while, it's always an amazing one to return to and feel into and check into what feels true for us now from this place along our journey. Exploring what is the soul has really captivated mystics and philosophers, artists, scientists, and theologians, and just humans in general throughout the ages. And it's been something that I have devoted my life to. And yeah, I'm really dedicated to exploring through my work, through my creations. It's one of the biggest, greatest questions that I have that fascinates me the most. I personally see the soul as the part of us that exists beyond just this lifetime we're in right now. I see the soul as our essence, like our ancient self, the part of us that chose to consciously be here in this life, in this body, on this planet at this time. I see the soul as the part of us that is actually connected to the same intelligent, sacred pulse of life that tells flowers when to bloom and the seasons when to come and go. I believe that it is this part of us that is wise beyond our years, and it's this part of us that is connected to our intuition. It's the part of us that's always calling us towards our highest purpose, our most aligned life. I have a page in my third book, Letters to a Starseed, which says, "Your soul had a dream, your life is it." And I love that one-liner. I'm doing a lot of writing to it at the moment, actually. And yeah, I think that really encapsulates my belief of the soul. So the soul is the part of us that exists beyond the here and now in this life, even though it does exist here as well. But it's the one that consciously chose to be here in this body at this time on this planet. I believe that the soul speaks in whispers, in dreams, in visions, in feelings and longings and yearnings. So we connect with our soul really by connecting within. And it's what this podcast is really dedicated to, returning to the wisdom within. And the wisdom within, from my perspective, from my cosmology, is the soul. the voice of the soul, the part of us that's always calling us every moment of every day. And if we create the space and the rhythm to connect in with this mysterious part of us that is intelligent, that is always calling us, then it becomes easier to recognize its voice, or recognize it when we make connection to it. And the more we act on its calls, the more we act on our intuition, the more we act on the calls of our soul, little by little, we find ourselves living a soul-led life, living a purposeful life. So yeah, it's why when it comes to life purpose, I'm a big believer in it's more about connecting in and listening to the calls and acting on the calls each and every day than it is like, give me one big answer to the big question, what is my purpose? Because we're always changing, we're always growing. And I believe that if we invite our soul to step forward and lead us, no matter what we venture through, we will go through difficulties. It's part of the human experience. But if we're connected and attuned to the call of the soul, we will navigate our way through it. I do believe that our soul chooses some lessons that we go through, and obviously it's not to bypass the human experience, actually more to embrace it. But I believe that the soul does come in with a sort of like plan or checklist in a way. And then on top of that, we've got free will. So I believe that when we connect in with this intelligent part of us, it becomes easier to find ourselves like feeling like we're in harmony with life, or in harmony with our life purpose, because it is available to guide us each and every day. But yeah, we live in a world of free will, and it's a physical world, and so it's really important that we not only connect in with the soul, but then act on it too, so we're properly integrating our intuition in our life. I think the most memorable, palpable moment of the soul for me has been when I've seen both my friend Blair and my grandmother's body after my belief is after their soul had passed, after their soul had left their body, after they had died. And I think that a lot of people reflect on this, where when they see a body after the person has died, you can kind of see just so clearly how the essence of who they were in this life is gone. It is certainly left. It's like the very thing that made them them is gone with the breath and the stopping of the beating of the heart. And, it makes you wonder, like, what is this essence that has so clearly gone? And to me, this essence is what I call the soul. And yeah, I'll never forget that first moment when I saw my friend's body after his soul had left. I'd been dedicated to this work. I'd been so captivated and interested in the soul. And I deeply believed in the concept of the soul and leaving the body when we die, and living on and all of that. But still, nothing prepared me for just how obvious it was for me that I just could not believe how much of him was gone. Like in my mind, I was just looking down at his body, and it was just so clear that what made him him was no longer. And so, yeah, maybe you've had that experience yourself. I know when I saw my grandmother, I was actually on the other side of the world to her, but my mum got the call from the nursing home and went up, and yeah, it was soon after she had passed, and she FaceTimed me, and yeah, I was like, can you show me, Nana? And it was the same thing. It was just, again, just mind blown by the fact that the essence, the thing that made them, the life force within them, was just not there anymore. And I think the same portal really opens, and the palpable acknowledgement that a lot of people give the soul, we're invited to see it on the other side of life when a new baby enters the world. Maybe you've experienced entering the room with a newborn in it. And I know when I've done it, I've been blown away by just how big their presence actually is as this tiny little being. But you can feel, and maybe it's the freshness of their arrival, maybe it's where they've come from. I'm not sure what it is, but there's this tiny little being, but the presence is so vast, so big. That portal, this place that they came from, they've just arrived from. It's like this portal has been open, and I think part of that is the presence of the soul incarnating, the soul entering this physical realm. And yeah, I think the other thing that has blown my mind when I've seen newborn babies, and then of course I've had 2 children, what has really, again, I know this, but it's experiencing it has like blown my mind, is just how different each of my son and my daughter felt as they were born, and also in the pregnancy too. And that makes me question, like who are they? What is this essence within them that made them so different from each other? Yeah, and I think that there's obviously many things that come into play there that shape us and influence us, especially as we journey deeper into our life. But yeah, there's definitely an essence, a uniqueness right from the beginning that differentiates us all. And I believe that is the soul. I believe the soul comes in with memories, with like impressions within it, experiences, just like our experiences shape us in this life. I believe the same thing happens for the soul. And while the specifics may vary, obviously, most of the world's cultures and religions recognize the presence of the soul. And many believe that our soul incarnates over and over again. And the ancient Greeks saw the soul as the essence of life, the life force, the thing that gives us as human beings life. Plato saw the soul as immortal, as the part of us that lives on beyond the time of death of our human body. So that is that the soul is separate from the human body. And I definitely, my cosmology is aligned to that too. Hinduism speaks of the breath, of the Atman, as being the eternal universal self of which each individual soul is part of. The ancient Egyptians saw the soul as being comprised of 2 different parts. The first part, the ka, being the breath, and then the ba is the part of the soul that proceeded to the region of the dead. I believe that the soul is the part of us that has been sculpted for lifetimes. I believe that the soul is the part of us that is eternal. It's the part of us that is connected to all of life. I believe that the soul is the wise part of us. And I do believe that this part of us is always calling us towards our highest path and purpose. And through listening to its whispers and honoring them and integrating them, it's the best way to feel like we're living this like fulfilled, purposeful, aligned life. It's definitely been my experience. I've come to believe that we each come in with our own essence. And that essence is what we see in the newborn before the external world has had the chance to imprint on it. I think this is why we're like captivated by the potent innocence that each child has. Obviously, they haven't had the life experience as well, but I think it's so pure, the soul connection at that point. And for me personally, remembering who we are at soul level, from a soul perspective, who we are as a soul, has been really the most powerful and influential work that I've done. I believe that when we acknowledge the soul, we call in more of our life force, because I do see the soul as being part of life force itself. I believe that our soul's unique essence is crafted through all of our experiences. Often people refer to the soul as being like a multifaceted crystal or fingerprint, with each experience that we have influencing who we are from a soul perspective. And as the soul continues its journey, it keeps creating and carrying and imprinting on and developing in real time who we are from a soul perspective. In our society, we're often starved with people who have hearts that can see and witness and acknowledge the soul. And I believe that all of us deep down really yearn for our soul, our uniqueness to be truly seen. And so, this is why it's like such a beautiful gift that we can give another person, to take a moment to properly witness who they really are, to kind of acknowledge the soul who has made its way into this life, into this body, onto this planet at this time. That is a little bit about what I believe is the soul. And it's such a fascinating topic. If you feel like we're just scratching the surface, I totally agree. And if you'd like to dive deeper into exploring the soul and connecting with it even more deeply, and uncovering who you are from a soul perspective, you might like to explore the Inner Temple Mystery School training. We have a whole module on the soul. It's really, really powerful stuff. I think when you make that connection to the soul and invite it to lead you, and really build your life around embracing who you are from a soul perspective, it's so amazing as well, because I think that when we let the world really see us and who we are from a soul perspective and follow that path, we're able to call in our people, our soulmates, our soul family, those people that are our people. So now, talking about the soul, one of my favorite practices is a practice we do at the end of every episode, which is called Soul Inquiry, where we enter into a direct dialogue with our soul. And so today's Soul Inquiry prompt is, what does your soul want you to know today? What does your soul want you to know today? And then what's one baby step you can take in that direction today? Let's all share a deep breath together as we close this sacred space that we've stepped into. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you'd like to mull something over with me, send your question over to podcast@rebeccacampbell.me. If you'd like to keep returning to yourself and returning here with me, then please hit subscribe. If you love this podcast, leaving a review or a 5-star rating really helps others to find it too. You can, of course, find the show notes from today's episode over at rebeccacampbell.me/podcast. Thanks for returning.